Alright guys, so in today's video, we're going to be discussing something that is obviously very serious, very unfortunate. And for the record, no, I'm not really a sports specific channel, but I love to just talk about pretty much anything that I feel passionately about. And today, this is what I've been thinking about all day, is what happened last night. So I love sports, specifically American football. Anytime it's the NFL season, I'm sitting down and watching every single game that I possibly can. And last night, there was a game, Thursday Night Football, a big divisional game between the Dolphins and the Bills. You know, two of the best teams in the NFL, two teams vying to win a Super Bowl, and I was super excited. Unfortunately, I worked last night until about 9 o'clock, and the game came on at 8:15 my time, Eastern Standard Time. And so I rushed straight home to watch the game, grabbed some Chick-fil-A for my girlfriend and I was so excited just to watch the game. I'm like, this is going to be amazing. Two great teams. I'm excited. And you know, the game obviously wasn't going well for the Dolphins. Tua wasn't playing particularly well. The defense wasn't playing very well. The Bills were pretty much dominating. And by about the third quarter, the score was, I think, 31-10. And so the game was, for most purposes, over. But the Dolphins were still trying. They have one of the best offenses in the NFL. They have a ton of speed. They have Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle. And so they were driving down the field, and there was maybe a glimmer, let's say, of hope that they could put something together. And, you know, obviously the game was overshadowed because here in the third quarter, again, I think the score was 31-10 when this happened. There was maybe 4 or 5 minutes left in the third quarter. The Dolphins are driving down the field, and they are, I think, within the red zone. So this play happened, I think, around like the 15-yard line or so. And, you know, Tua decides to take off and run to gain some yards. And, you know, for you guys who aren't familiar with Tua Tagovailoa, he's a great guy. He's a great quarterback. And I think, especially just a great guy. You know, I think everyone seems to gravitate towards him. I know a lot of people personally who are actually Dolphins fans because of Tua. He's just a good dude. He's a believer. He's just through and through just seems like a good guy. Seems like everyone loves him. But he has had a string of concussions that are very well known. There's one that people tend to forget about, which was at the end of the 2019 at Alabama. He did suffer a concussion, and then in 2022 there were 2 concussions. So there was one against the Bengals in September of 2022, and then one versus my team, the Packers, in 2022 as well. So he had 3 diagnosed concussions. Again, very well known because those 2 in 2022 were very scary. And I believe they actually technically changed protocol. So there was a huge deal about it in 2022. But, you know, one thing I wanted to mention is that for any of you who know football players or are football players, it's very well known that not all the concussions that you get are going to be diagnosed. Meaning for a lot of football players, the concussions that they suffer, the number is going to be higher than what the actual diagnosed number is. My father played football at a very high level in college. I've had friends play football at a very high level, and they've all told me the same thing, which is that, you know, they have those plays where the bells are ringing, and, you know, especially in the old days, like whenever my dad was playing, you would just get up and kind of struggle and stammer, and you just get back into the huddle. You just keep going, because back then they didn't know as much about concussions and what was going on. But even nowadays, you've got players who, you know, obviously don't want to come out of a game. They've gotten hit, their bell is rung, they don't know if they're okay. But they want to continue playing because it's their career, it's their livelihood. And so my point here is, you know, Tua's had 3 diagnosed concussions going into the 2024 season. And we don't know if there's been others. You know, I feel like there's a pretty high likelihood that there might have been, you know, some more in there. But again, I mean, obviously 1 concussion is too much. To have 3 going into a season isn't good. 3 within a 5-year span. And so he takes off from, I think it was about the 15-yard line, gets inside the 10. So, I mean, they're pretty close to scoring. You know, it's, again, 31-10. If they score, it's 31-17. Not impossible for something, you know, to make a comeback. And he, you know, takes off and runs straight into the chest, head first, into Demar Hamlin. And for those of you, the craziest part about this whole thing to me is the fact that he ran into Demar Hamlin. the one player I've been listening to a ton of sports, radio and TV talk today, and something that I don't think I've heard many people mention is the fact that it was Demar Hamlin of all people. Demar Hamlin back in 2022 suffered cardiac arrest, so he literally died and then came back to life on the football field. And this is the one person out of all the defensive players in the NFL that he decided to happen to run into. And it didn't really seem like Demar wanted to tackle him. And so I feel like part of this is divine intervention. This is just my belief system. This is something that I've been thinking about all day. And so I crunched some numbers and I was just curious, what are the odds that Tua ran into Demar Hamlin of all people? And so if you just do some basic math, you take 32 NFL teams, you take the number of players on defense, you multiply that, and then you put 1 over that number. And that gets us to 1 over 352, which ends up being about 0.284%. Obviously, very, very, very low odds. The reason that I harp on this so much is because given what happened to Demar, I don't think he's inclined to really make these hits. And you could actually tell last night during the hit on Tua that it wasn't even really a hit. Tua ran into Demar. I think it's crazy that people were in Demar's dimensions saying, like, how dare you end this man's career? I feel like that was super scummy of people to say. He literally cradled Tua. Like, when you see a football player hit someone, they're going to be going forward to go through a person, right? So they're going to lower their shoulder, they're going to lower their head a little bit, and they're going to tackle someone, but they're going to go through them, right? It's an aggressive going towards someone. For Demar last night, he was going backwards. Like, if you look at the composition of his body, his upper half was behind his lower half, meaning he was going backwards. He caught Tua, basically. He didn't want to hit Tua. And then we obviously see Tua go down. We see him stiffen up. Super scary situation. And I was, again, with my girlfriend. We were at her apartment. And I just immediately, she was showing me something on her phone, I think, and I saw it out of the corner of my eye. And as soon as I saw him lower his head, I put my hands on my head. I said, oh no. I think I yelled it. I scared my girlfriend. She didn't know what had just happened. But it was terrifying because I knew what happened. I knew what was going to come out of all this. Just in the moment, it terrified me. My skin's kind of, I'm getting, my hairs are standing up on my arm. I'm getting chills just remembering it because I had such a visceral reaction to what happened. I think it just sucks. Like, it sucks. It sucks so bad for Tua. I think, everyone is just rooting for him just to be healthy, just to be able to compete. Even if you're not a Dolphins fan, even if you're rooting against the Dolphins, right? Like, you're still rooting for this guy to be healthy. And, the most frustrating part is that Tua, I think it was during it was probably between like the 2022-2023 season. He took jiu-jitsu classes. He took all these courses, learning how to fall, learning how to get down. And last night, the obvious thing to do was to just slide, which is, again, is what honestly, if you could sort of know what was going on in Demar Hamlin's head, I guarantee you he was just thinking, dude, just slide. Please slide, get down. I don't want to tackle you. I don't want to hurt you. Just get down. And unfortunately, Tua instincts take over. He wants to get the first down, which he had already gotten. He lowers the head and kind of rams right into Demar Hamlin. And so it is just a terrible situation. Super sad. Prayers go out to Tua. Prayers go out to his family. Because then you're faced with the idea of, like, what does he do going forward? And I saw this tweet by Nick Wright. It says Tua gets $93 million, no questions asked, which means that if he retires tomorrow, $93 million, no questions asked. Like, it's just his. There is some type of contingency where if he's forced to retire based on the injury versus if not, there's about $167 million that is tied up in that. But I mean, either way, you're talking about life-changing money, generational money. And for me, I just feel like it's time for Tua to put his kids first, to put his wife first. Not that he doesn't do that already. I'm not trying to say that, but it's time for him to walk away, I think. Have the rest of your life ahead of you. He's only 26 years old, and he could be an advocate for this sort of thing. He gets generational money. He could go move to Hawaii and just go to a beautiful island, spend the rest of his life there. I believe that's where he's originally from. That's why I said Hawaii. But yeah, I was like so upset. I was listening to sports talk all day today, and it seems like the consensus is that people really want to see him retire, just for his health, his safety. And so, let me know what you guys think in the comments. Should he continue going forward and maybe wear like a guardian cap and absolutely slide if that's the case? I feel like as an athlete, he's going to push himself to go. That's just my opinion. I think he will continue to play football, but I do feel like he should highly consider retiring and stepping away. There'd be absolutely no shame in it. But yeah, I really wanted to talk about this today just because, again, it was kind of on my heart. I really want to pray for this guy. I really hope just the best for him going forward. But please let me know what you guys think. Thank you for watching the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.